Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry, I was put here by people. I was put here by people to do a great job, and that's what I'm doing.
Welcome back to the Kyle McCullers Show. I am your host, Kyle McCullers, and it is Saturday, April 12th. And usually I will record a show and I will drop it on Tuesdays. But there has been so much information, so many things happening almost every single day since Trump started his tariffs last week that I honestly have been just waiting and absorbing and seeing how this is all going to play out. And I know that I did the last show on tariffs, but it was the biggest story and it continues to be the biggest story literally in the world. And so if you haven't been following the rapid fire updates almost every day since I believe the third or the fourth, well, Liberation Day was the second. So since the second, and it is now the 12th. So in the last 10 days, so much has happened over such a short amount of time. And so I put this little montage to catch you up. So check this out and I'll see you on the other side.
This is a Fox News alert. New tariffs are going into effect just after midnight, including a 104% duty on China.
But if these negotiations take a while, the tariffs are in place and stay, we will probably see a jump in, well, not a jump, but a quick increase in prices over the course of the next months to year.
Negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today. It has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, they're in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff for them, and China will be raised to 125 due to their insistence on escalation.
China issuing a staggering 125% retaliation duty against the U.S. This after President Trump announced he would pause tariffs above the 10% baseline for everyone but China. Details on the latest escalation.
If China continues to retaliate, it's not good for China.
Last month, I took an order for a batch of copper parts. I've already bought all the materials. It cost tens of thousands, and everything has been cut, ground, washed, and engraved. It's not finished yet, but today the customer messaged me and said the delivery might be delayed. After customs clearance, the taxes have gone up too much. A TikToker who works as a bulk trade supplier shared in his video the huge pressure he's under after the sudden increase in U.S. tariffs.
订单量5000多万美金，今年我们订单已经排到了26年的5月份。
Our orders are worth over 50 million US dollars. This year, we're already booked through May 2026. But with this 30% tariff hike, the impact on us is huge. If you're a small startup, it's not such a big deal because you don't ship enough to fill an entire container. But for us, it hits hard. Our profit margins in bulk trading are already razor thin. Now with a 34% tariff, it's like getting knocked to the ground.
He said the only thing he can do for now is wait. His backup plan is to ship through third-party warehouses in other countries. That's the only way forward. On April 7th, a TikToker from Foshan visited a newly built factory district and recorded footage of the vacant and neglected factory buildings.
He said, "Look at these factories that were just built last year. Now I can't even find a single person. There are no cars or people on the road. Some of these factories are single-story and others have multiple floors. The landlords spent nearly $1 billion to build these. Just a few years ago, these beautiful buildings were all leased out by middlemen. You had to wait in line to rent a factory space, but now there isn't a single customer coming to view the space.
On April 8th, a TikToker from Zhejiang shared a video saying that she suddenly realized the U.S. tariff increase has also severely impacted non-exporting manufacturers.
浙江这边的厂，这个关税加上去之后。
How big of an impact has the tariff increase had on local factories in Zhejiang? I run a small factory and don't deal with foreign trade, so I'm not sure how much it would affect me. But I've noticed that my upstream suppliers who export raw materials haven't received any orders for a long time. Not even one container has shipped out. When they can't get orders, they try to switch to domestic sales. Now people at their factories are still working non-stop, running around to try to make domestic sales. So when they get involved in the domestic market, doesn't that just drag the domestic factories into it too? Everyone's getting caught in the spiral, and in the end, we'll all collapse together. The impact is really huge, and some people probably haven't realized it yet. Whether it's the impact on their foreign trade or on our factories that don't deal with foreign trade, it's all very significant.
I woke up and the sky has collapsed again. On top of everything, now we face a 50% increase in tariffs. I mentioned before that many US orders through communication between buyers and sellers had been adjusted, with both sides compromising to complete the original orders. But today, unexpectedly, the tariffs increased by 50%. Well, those orders are being cancelled. If this trade war continues, half of our domestic textile factories will go out of business. Around Qingming Festival, we got a Canadian client who wanted us to lower the price. Originally, I thought I could make a small concession because we've been working with this client for many years. And considering the tariff issue, I said I could lower it by 2%, and he agreed. I was preparing to process the payment when I suddenly received an email from the client saying that Trump had increased tariffs to over 100%, and the client felt they were bearing a huge cost. They hoped the factory would cover about 30% of the tariffs. This meant that the price would need to be adjusted. I was really down after reading that email.
The problem is that in this scenario, to use your metaphor, the US has the bigger gun, and so China ends up having more to lose from this trade war, doesn't it? You know, it can't sustain the loss of 15% of its export market, i.e. what you export to the US.
Not at all. China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
No. Everybody knows the #1 destination for the world's capital, more than 50% of it is invested in the United States of America. 49% of all consumption is in the U.S. 26.1% of world GDP is the United States. It is still the #1 economy. And now if you're given the opportunity to invest in China or the United States, it's a no-brainer. Every dollar goes to the U.S. And so while the U.S. has the upper hand, and let's remember something, there's a time bomb here. For Trump, it's the midterm elections. But Xi's got a time bomb, too. He's got millions of workers in factories. Right now, those products are sitting on ships, floating in the ocean, because nobody's going to buy them because they don't have a big enough economy to consume them. Only the U.S. can do that. So we've got a little bit of a game here, a little game of chicken, because Xi only gets to stay in power if people have jobs and they can feed their families. He gets a vote every day. If those factory workers have no jobs, they're going to be like a Frankenstein with torches up at the castle. It's going to be brutal, and he knows that. So let's have this dance. Let's go now. Let's settle this now. 400% tomorrow morning to absolutely lock down zero trade until we solve this.
We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
Okay, guys, so what does this all mean for the United States, for China, for the world? And where are we really at right now? Well, there is a strategy that I believe that Trump is doing. There's kind of a dual strategy. The first strategy is leveraging tariffs to bring countries to the negotiation table so that he can, in one swoop, reorganize all of the trading contracts and agreements with the entire world. And if people don't do that, then they'll be shut out of the United States market, which, as you heard Kevin give those stats, we really make up 49% of the consumption on this planet as America, which means that if a country wanted to sell goods, their number one market would be America, because we consume half of the products in the world. So essentially, it's a death sentence to the economy of a country who cannot sell their goods in America, which gives Trump and gives us, the American people, all of the leverage to negotiate. So that's why you see all of these countries pouring in and striking their own deals. Now, what does that mean for China? Well, the second strategy that Trump did is, you didn't see it in the clip with Bessent, with Treasury Secretary Bessent, but at the end of that press conference, and you can see the clips online, he said that you could say that Trump goaded China. I don't think Trump goaded China. I think Trump set China up to do exactly what China was already going to do. And it's not that he did anything to manipulate them. It's that when someone will behave a certain way based on their personality and based on what they believe in. You know that a greedy person's going to steal money, or a greedy person's going to act a certain way. So you can say something or do something, and you could just know that this person is going to react a certain way. He gave the entire world the same message: don't retaliate. But he knew that Xi Jinping, the leader of China, could not do that, or he would look weak. He would look like he's coming and bending the knee to Trump, and he would look weak in front of his party. Xi Jinping is in a catch-22. He wants to make a deal. He knows that his economy cannot survive without America. But he's forced to position himself in front of the world and in front of his people as adversarial to Trump and adversarial to America to save face, because that is the communist way. And if he does bend the knee publicly to Trump, he will be perceived as weak, and they will out him, meaning they will kill him and replace him, because that's what communist parties do. I specifically put those clips in with the Chinese manufacturing owners and workers so that Americans could get an idea, that we can get an idea and understanding of what's actually happening in China, because we talk a lot about China, but we don't really know too much about the inside China. And I thought that those were relevant clips. Kevin is 100% right, as a lot of economists are, and what Secretary Bessent and what Trump is banking on is that this is a game of chicken. And America, Trump is betting that the American people, the majority that voted for him and his supporters, will stand firm, will hold fast, will have the backbone he has, and follow him in this war with China, because it is a war. It's been a Cold War, and this is heating up, right? We'll follow Trump. Let me finish my thought. We'll follow Trump into the game of chicken that we have to have with China, like Kevin was alluding to be the dominant trade partner to secure our national security and our economic future and prosperity forever, as long as, we can handle good leadership and following the policies that Trump has put in place, and a Democrat doesn't come behind him and try to blow everything up again like Joe Biden did. Why am I saying that? Because the economy in China has already been collapsing. They punted their 2008 collapse down the road by borrowing a ton of debt that they cannot pay. They cannot pay it because their real estate market has collapsed, and now the trade reorganization is happening. And so that's what I mean by catch-22 at Xi Jinping. The scary thing for me, and when I think about his options, Xi Jinping has very little options. Either he strikes a deal with Trump secretly that allows him to save face, which I don't know if that's going to be possible. Not with Trump 2.0. Maybe Trump 1.0 would have been, but I think after the assassination and truly believing that he's here for this reason, as you saw the clip, which was funny, but I think it was actually honest. I do believe that Trump believes that he is the chosen one, and a lot of people believe that. I mean, I'm a religious man, and I'll tell you right now, if a bullet shot at your head and it grazes your ear, but it strikes a volunteer firefighter, killing him instead, you're going to stand up and then you win the election. And you don't just win the election. You win the election in a fashion that almost hasn't been done hasn't been done in decades by a Republican. So in a lot of ways, Trump is the chosen one. He is the person that is supposed to be doing what he's doing. And he believes that. He believes that he is the person to take on China. And you know, after being nearly killed, that changes a person. And I honestly believe that gives them some conviction, some power that we don't have as normal people who haven't risked our lives in that way, or haven't had put our life in jeopardy that way. And so I think he has a lot more clarity and a lot more determination than he's ever had before. And believe me, Donald J. Trump had tons of determination before that. So I don't know if China and Xi Jinping is going to do that. I don't think that their relationship is that good. I think Trump says a lot of things in public because why poke the bear, right? But I don't think he has a good relationship with Xi Jinping. I don't think Xi Jinping likes him at all. I don't think Trump likes him either. But for the sake of argument and the sake of saving face, and Trump knows and suspects what he has to say in order to make sure that the people around Xi Jinping don't add pressure to Xi Jinping to be more defiant. You can see that if Trump starts bad-mouthing Xi Jinping, just like if he starts bad-mouthing Putin, that the communist mindset is that you have to project power. You have to project power because power is the ultimate thing that keeps you alive. And if anyone senses weaknesses in you, they're going to push those weaknesses and they're going to take you out. Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, it all comes from the same kind of Marxist, communist, dictatorial mindset, mind frame, and it is the one who has the most power is on top. So I think that Xi Jinping has painted himself in that corner. So number one, I think that's off the table. Number two, he's not going to bend the knee, right? He's not going to bend the knee. So he's not going to come to America unless he's going to be a sacrificial lamb. And what I mean by that is he knows that coming to America, striking a deal with Trump is virtually suicide. But he would be sacrificing himself for the greater good. I don't know if he has it in him. Third, there could be some kind of secret talks where Trump would have to make the first move in lowering tariffs against China, but he's not going to do that, I don't believe, without some kind of compensation from China. He's not going to be, like I said before, he's not going to be the person to save Xi Jinping's face. He's not doing that. So China's going to have to give some kind of concession, and he's going to have to do it in some kind of covert way to where Trump gets the signal and it allows him to save face. I don't know. That's a very complicated thing. It's very diplomatic, and if that's possible, that would be to me, that's the best case scenario, okay? Some kind of signal to Trump that Xi Jinping gets it It allows America to start lowering tariffs, then China lowers theirs, and they come back down, and now they can talk about doing a deal, and they do a deal, and everybody can walk away without conflict. That's probably the best case scenario. It's also the most complicated scenario because there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of room for misinterpretation, misunderstanding. It's going to be through smoke signals, essentially. It'd be very hard to do. Unfortunately, there's worst case scenario, and worst case scenario is war. That's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is war. That's one of the only ways to get out of a financial crisis, essentially. And so, the Chinese have not been practicing; they've been rehearsing the invasion of Taiwan. Could Xi Jinping pull that trigger? Could he start from a trade war to an assault war? Could it turn into a world war? It could. And I think that I hope that they've planned for that. Sometimes when you're planning, it's hard to really think through what could be worst case scenario out of possible scenarios. And I'm sure that the Trump administration has thought about this and is prepared for that. I know Pete Hegseth, the lethal. I mean, a lot of the stuff I believe that Trump's doing is he knew that he was going to have to take on China. And he knew that it was going to take not just trade, but it's going to take the military. It's going to take the intelligence community. It's going to take getting our land back from China, our farmland back from China. All the national security threats that that countries have had their hooks in America, Trump is cutting those lines. And it's not isolational. It is not isolationist at all. It is defensive. It is security. It is protecting this country and Americans. And it's protecting the liberties, freedoms, and the Constitution of the true beacon of democracy on this planet. So these tariffs were always a negotiation tool. The market, stock market going crazy and everyone's speculating. Remember, the stock market is based on emotion. Okay, it's based on emotion and speculation. The people that make the most money in the stock market are people who base their strategy off a plan and off adhering to that plan. They don't base it off of emotions, and they don't base it off of speculation. And so the stock market is just one indicator, but they knew, Scott Bessent is brilliant. He's a brilliant economist. They were prepared for this. They know this. And even in that clip with Scott Bessent, he said that Trump stayed the course, even though it was very difficult because you have all these people saying all this kind of stuff about you and about what you're doing, and no one's going to get it until the plan comes to fruition. And that's what it is. It's funny because I am a chess player, and I like to believe that I'm someone who can read between the lines rather well, especially with political stuff. And, and I think I just have a true, I've watched Donald Trump for years, and I just feel like I have a true understanding of how he operates. And if you guys haven't had a chance, you should go on Twitter or on YouTube and find the clip where Bill Maher, he talks about his trip to the White House and dinner with Trump. It is great. I think it will shock a lot of people. But one of the things that he kept talking about was how the man that he met at dinner is not the man that he sees in public. And he says he called Trump not a crazy person, but he plays a crazy person on the public stage. I don't believe Trump is crazy at all. I do believe that Trump, as a person in front of a camera, is the exaggerated character of Donald Trump. I think that he is someone who is bombastic, and he is just truthful and he gets it. He is very smart. I think that people think that he's dumb because he doesn't articulate himself in a specific way in front of a camera, because he's doing it on purpose, because he's talking to a specific audience. And he's always been talking to that audience ever since 2015. And that doesn't mean that he can't talk to, debutantes. He is one, right? He's a billionaire. And I think that that's the thing where people are he is truly someone who has been able to almost, not exemplify, but he is someone who has embodied the art of war. You got to remember, guys, he hosted The Apprentice, right, for years. He's a billionaire who creates companies and makes them successful. He's a successful developer in Manhattan, one of the hardest places in the world. Remember, he came from Queens. Him and his father were in Queens. He wanted to come to Manhattan, and his dad told him, "Yeah, I don't see how we're going to be able to do that." And it was his son, Donald, that did it and became super successful at it. And he's been doing the same thing. Remember, he negotiated. He negotiated, I think, I don't know if it was Trump Tower or whatever it was on maybe, I don't remember specifically. I do remember, though, he was the one who negotiated with Chinese investors to get those buildings constructed in Manhattan. And he's done business with the Chinese. He's done business in China. He's done, just like Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. Trump's been doing this for 50 years. And so it's not that he's just perfected the art of the deal. It's that no one on the planet, truly, think about that. When people were saying that no one else on earth can stop the war with Ukraine and Russia but Donald Trump, it's 100% true. There's not one other person out of the 7 or 8 billion people on this earth that Vladimir Putin will actually respect, talk to, think about, and actually change his mind other than Donald J. Trump. There's not one other person on this planet that Xi Jinping would actually fear or actually check himself or change course other than Donald J. Trump. Think about this. President Trump is literally the most powerful person in the entire world. Not just because of the title of president, but because the American people are majorly, his poll numbers speak for themselves. He has the people's backing, the American people's backing. The majority of Americans support him. His entire cabinet love him. People around the world love him. And he is, as Bill Maher said, gracious. And he is a patriot. That's the thing that I think a lot of politicians don't understand. Donald Trump, at his core, is an American from New York. He loves the United States of America. And for his entire life, he has been angry that the American people and this country has been taken advantage of by all of the world. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to have the greatest trade deals ever made, because the people that were made them before, I remember listening to Trump in his first term talking about how they couldn't believe how these deals were structured. And I'm in real estate, and I understand exactly how deals work and how they should be structured, and how you want to make sure that you're getting, that the seller gets exactly what they want, but you need to make sure you get what you want. You structure it in a way that makes sense. And if they're structured in a way that doesn't make sense, it's because people don't know how to. And it is the politician's fault, but it's also not because they weren't trained to do it. They don't know. And the people that they had around them weren't good, or they didn't know. And they just got outworked. And he was talking about this in his first term. And so now full circle, because that clip of him, I think back in 1988, of him talking to Oprah about how we were getting ripped off by the Japanese and other countries bringing in their VCRs and their cars and things like that. Now it's full circle, and Trump gets to do what he thought everything should have been done back in the 80s and the 90s. So if these countries coming in thinking that they're gonna be able to get these sweetheart deals, I guarantee you, no, that's not happening. America will come out ahead on every single one of these deals. It will be the greatest economic, I don't think we understand exactly what's about to happen. Okay? If we have been where we have been with these trade deals as is, I don't think we can truly imagine being in a position where we have no deficits, that we actually have surpluses, and or we break even. That's not even counting what Doge is doing to eliminate fraud and waste. And that's not even counting the tariff income. That's just on trade. And so I think to myself, the prosperity of this country will be so monumental and life-changing for everyday Americans that if the rumor is true that these things go through and everything passes, that the income tax for people making $150,000 or less is eliminated, I don't think that we in our lifetime will truly be able to understand the monumental economic prosperity of the American average person. That is what Trump is painting. That is what Trump was painting before when he was talking about a golden era. The man is execution. The man only knows how to execute. He only knows how to move forward. He only knows how to win. That's why I admired him, right? Growing up. And I don't care who you are, especially in the black community, we all love Donald Trump. We have always loved Donald Trump. Okay? Basketball players, rappers. I mean, everyone rapped about Donald Trump. Okay? So let's not pretend anymore, guys. We love him, and you know we love him. He hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. There's nothing that's changed about him. He's been the same person that he's always been. Period. And he wants to make sure that your children and your grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren are prosperous in this country, and they never have to fear a foreign adversary coming in and taking anything from them. And I think that history will prove and shine on his presidency as his first and his second. And I do believe he will be the greatest president of all time. If he delivers, which I do believe he will, he delivers these trade deals. He reorganizes the entire world economy for the favor of the American people and the market. Nothing like it has ever been done in world history. Not by one person. And if I'm proven wrong, please do. But I just want to say that I am so happy to be alive to see these things happen. I'm so happy that we have a president that loves his country so much that he has risked his life, his reputation, his legacy to make this country the greatest it's ever been and ever will be. And I'm just so happy to see my children and my grandchildren grow up in an era in America where there is national pride, security, unprecedented prosperity, opportunity and innovation like we've never seen before, with technology and artificial intelligence and everything that's coming. And I just hope that we as Americans truly appreciate what this one man is doing for all of us. And I hope that there's more conversations and more meetings between people like Bill Maher and him. So I hope this helped you. I hope you guys learned some stuff. Go out and research what I'm talking about. And I'll see you next week. Take care.